You're listening to Lighthouse Conversations, brought to you by Lighthouse Haven, a spiritual home for your awakening soul. Lighthouse Conversations is a show where awakening souls gather to be inspired, connected, and enlightened. Spiritual spark plug and host Chelly Canales, that's me, will guide you through the twists and turns of your journey to a safe haven where you are finally free to live your best light. Each episode contains a conversation with a guest who has gone through a spiritual awakening, detailing their unique and life-changing experiences in an intimate and candid way. Although everyone's experience is as unique as they are, we all share one common thread. We're all seeking something. So, come join us on this journey and be prepared to leave with resources that will supercharge you into inspired action. Here's today's episode. Hello, awakening souls. It is almost the end of 2019. How's it been for you? It's been quite a ride this year, and I'm so thrilled with what has happened. And I'm also so excited for 2020 because I feel like this past year was the building block. It was the space I needed to create what this career and life is going to be moving forward. And I'm so excited to say that there's speaking engagements and MC engagements coming up where I can come to a city near you. I want to talk to you. Let me know where you are. Keep in touch. So I'm really excited about today's episode, because Brandy is an incredible, fierce female that just inspires me so much. When I met her, I was immediately just blown away by her light and her presence. And I just thought to myself, you know, the future is about championing other women. The future is not about trying to tear each other down in order to get somewhere or to let jealousy take over. Instead, if we can see each other as the miracles that each and every one of us are and say, wow, I really value that you're bringing your light to the world in that way, we're just going to shift into a culture where it's guided by positivity and support rather than I won't get anywhere unless you lose something. I won't get anything unless you are not getting something. That's the old way of thinking, and we're moving beyond that. So I'm really excited for you to hear this episode. Also, if you're still wondering about this whole spirituality thing, if this is just something you're starting to be curious about, what does it mean for me? Am I even a spiritual person? What are the different things you talk about sometimes? I don't know what these words are. I would recommend checking out my book, The ABCs of Awakening, A Dictionary for the Emerging Soul. It's on Amazon. It's on Barnes & Noble. And what's fun about it is that it's easily digestible. It's a small book. I go through the letters A through Z, talking about different terms, bringing them down to earth, making them really relatable. I like to throw in pop culture references and also, just a little bit of humor in there as well, because not everything should be so heavy. Well, I hope you enjoy that, and I hope you enjoy this. Get to know my friend, Brandy Wilson Edwards. Welcome, Brandy. I'm so happy to have you on the show. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
So am I. I have to say, when I met you at Omega Institute, you had this beautiful bright light about you. And I'm like, I have to know who that is. We have to talk. And it probably wasn't until maybe towards the end of the retreat that we actually got a chance to connect. But I knew there was something about that group that collected for that specific Rebecca Campbell retreat, that this group of people was meant to be the group that brings this light to the masses, if you will. Everybody has their own individual gift and their own individual talent and their own individual story of awakening, how they got there, what took them to that point. I want to hear about what took you to that point.
Well, that was a great introduction of how we met. I would say that I found the journey that I'm on by, number one, finding Rebecca's book, Light is the New Black.
Yes.
That is the first one that I read. It found me at the time I needed it the most, when I knew that I was missing something in my life. I knew that I wanted something more in my life. And that book just really helped confirm what my soul was calling me to do, which is a lot of things.
Yes.
But I would say before I found that book, it was through yoga that I really started to begin my spiritual journey without realizing it. And then it was reading her book that just allowed me to essentially become a sponge and absorb all of this new information. It was at her retreat that I meditated for the first time in my entire life. Yes.
Wow. And what a safe and nurturing environment to do it in. I have to say it was it was almost like a splash of cold water leaving that retreat, because it was such a held, warm, beautiful space to do these practices. Sometimes it's hard when you're on your own out in the world to find the time to carve out, enough, giving yourself the space to do it, right? And especially to go
Mm-hmm.
so deep. So I felt so supported by that, and I love that that was your very first experience. You got to see it at its very best. Where
Yes.
has it taken you? What does your meditation practice look like right now?
My meditation practice is still a work in progress.
As it always will be.
Yes. And so before I met you at her retreat, I was actually at her retreat the year before, the first
Oh,
time that
that's
she had
right.
it.
Yeah.
So that was the first time. And I would say I may have meditated a few times on my own in between the
Hmm.
first and second retreat. And now I go to classes sporadically. So I've meditated for an entire hour, which is challenging. But if I'm doing it on my own, 5 or 10 minutes of just being still actually requires a lot for me.
It does. I feel you
So I'm
completely.
still
Yeah.
working towards incorporating meditation more, because when I do, it is amazing. I get a lot of creative downloads, and then just feel so rested and rejuvenated. And it's one of those things, just like working out, when you take a break or you don't do it and then you get back into it, you're like, why did
Hmm.
I stop? This feels so amazing.
I know the feeling. So, fitness is a big part of your life as well. I want to go into that. But first, can you tell the listeners at home a little bit about your journey? You are an attorney and you're a self love guru. Like, you spread so much positivity, especially to your female network around you. I love seeing all the things that you're up to. I want to know, like, how you exist in this beautiful, unique form and your journey to getting to this place.
Okay, so I knew that I've been practicing for almost 8 years in law, and feeling extremely unfulfilled for, I would
Mhm.
say, the past 3 years. And I knew that I'd been wanting to, I wouldn't even say want. I would say maybe around 3 years ago, right before I found Rebecca's book, I had been considering and contemplating a career change. Do I want to continue practicing law? Do I want to go into a different area of law? Do I have a different purpose? Is there something else I'm supposed to be doing? But there's so many thoughts and feelings and concerns and challenges that come along with that, because
Oh,
I've gone to
yes.
school my entire life for this. This is what I set out to do. Um, and, I didn't want anything to feel like a wasted experience. I'm still paying off my loans, all of those things. And so just really a lot of self discovery through yoga while I was,
Mhm.
practicing law. And the more I started to read personal development, the more I started going to different events with like minded women, um, and just a variety of different things. I just started my own self love journey. And I just started sharing a lot of my thoughts and my feelings online on Facebook before I even had an Instagram. And I realized what I was saying was resonating with people. And I'm very goal oriented. So I started posting if I was training for a 15K for the first time, which
Mhm.
was a challenge because I'd only done 5Ks and I really don't run that often. And I realized that the more I shared on what I was working on or doing, I would post encouraging things really to motivate myself, but it was encouraging other people and empowering other people. And people would message me out of the blue that I didn't even know were paying attention. I just wanted to let you know that because you did this or that, it inspired me to do something. Or I just wanted to let you know I really needed what you shared today.
Mhm.
So, kind of positive reinforcement. I was like, okay, well, people like this. I'll start doing more of it. And then it just really started to evolve from there. And I knew that I wanted to help people in some way. And I wasn't sure in what way that was. And then it just kind of organically evolved, self love, and especially so many struggles that I had as a child and then young woman and as an adult of, accepting my body and loving my
Mhm.
body and having so many different fitness journeys where I gain weight and lose weight and trying to constantly achieve the next size down or the extra 5 pounds or 10 pounds or whatever. And just getting to a place where I could accept where I was at and love my body, even if I still had goals of wanting to be stronger and healthier, but
Yes.
reaching a place where, I could no longer be negative towards myself or have these mean thoughts and let that inner girl,
Mm,
that inner mean girl just kind of like beat me down. And
yes.
it kind of, I just had all these thoughts and ideas, which I got from a meditation at Rebecca's workshop. I went into it, seeking guidance on
Mm,
what can I do for a workshop. I knew that I wanted to host an event, and I was like, what in the world could I do? What can I talk about? What content could I provide? How can I help people? And it came to me with so much ease and flow. And it was how to love yourself with your five senses.
I love it.
And I journaled afterwards, and then I created a save the date, posted it online before I had, anything really planned. But I knew that I wanted to do this. I had something to share, and I would figure it out along the way. And that was 2 years ago. And then everything
Mhm.
has just been building, building from there.
I have to say I'm very moved by your posts a lot of the time because I am in that same boat with you. And I that inner bully, that inner mean girl, she can really get the best of me sometimes. And it makes you feel like less valuable of a human being. And how silly is that? I feel
Mm-hmm.
like, we forget, at least I do, that we're a soul in a human body.
Yes.
And we don't see ourselves the way other people even see us. And when we give ourselves that amount of negativity, I believe, and I've heard studies that our cells hear that, they feel that, they react to that, and we'll get more of the same instead of like, hey, I see you where you're at, and I love you where you're at, and I'm going to take care of you because it feels good, is a totally
Right.
different mentality than like, I must fit into that dress. I cannot take a photo looking like this. And it can be a devastating and crippling thing. I've been stopped in my tracks more times than I can count. So I know that what you're saying is super valuable and that your message resonates clearly. So thank you for showing up that way.
Well, I
Um,
appreciate it. Thank you.
it's true. I want to hear about you growing up. Now, did you grow up in Texas?
Yes, born and raised
Tell me
Texan.
about the lifestyle of growing up in Texas. I mean, I was born in Texas, but I grew up in Colorado, so I have a completely,
Mm-hmm.
I think, different experience of it. But were you in Houston or
No,
Dallas?
I was in, well, okay, so I moved around a lot as a
Mm-hmm.
child. And so I did move out of state for a little bit to Oklahoma, but I always was living in really small towns,
Mm-hmm.
about an hour and 15 minutes or so, give or take, from Dallas. So kind of northeast Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time I graduated high school, I'd gone to 6 different schools. So
Wow.
I was constantly, moved around and starting over. And, that presented its own challenges, which is why I think I make friends so easily, because I
Mm-hmm.
realized, when I was younger, there was a period where I was a little shy getting moved around. And then I realized, what, I have to make friends and talk to people if I'm going to, have any friends every time I move. And also, it just helped give me a new perspective when I'm at events or with new groups of people. I always gravitate towards those that are by themselves, or, things like that, wanting to include people because I know
Mm-hmm.
what it feels like to be the new girl or be excluded, or everyone already has their established group or they already know
Yes.
people. But I guess to answer your question, growing up, what it was like for me, just kind of like small town stuff. I remember when I went to the last school that I ended up graduating from, I was so excited that there was a Walmart in town and some
Yeah.
fast food places. I
Yeah.
mean, that is how ridiculous I felt like my limited exposure to so many things in the world was. And I always knew that I was missing something, and I did not realize what it was until I went to college, which was a bigger university outside of Dallas. And I knew that I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to get out of my small town, but I also was kind of nervous about just picking up and moving like to Dallas itself. So it was kind of like in between. But then once I was around so many different people and so many different mindsets, and just people who come from different backgrounds, I was like, this is what I need in my life. This is what I've been missing, is people from all walks of life. And uh, so many things to do and experience in the
Is
city.
that is that where you first encountered the concept of spirituality? Did you grow up with a religious family? I know in small towns it's kind of harder to get access to some of the information you might get if you were in a big city, like Denver, for example. There was actually already a wellness and spiritual community built in that I was able to tap into. But I know if I would have stayed in South Texas, I wouldn't have had that around me. And so I'm curious what the path was to get you specifically to this line of interest.
Oh, great question. No, growing up where I lived, it was, your traditional churches,
Hmm.
Christianity, which I never felt like I completely identified with a specific denomination.
Hmm.
And so when I moved out, when I did go to church, even though it was sporadically, I gravitated more towards non-denominational because I felt
Hmm.
like it was more welcoming, less judgmental, and a little bit broader with what people believed. I guess I don't know if that's the right way to describe it. um
That makes sense.
you know but gosh, I would say I really didn't even learn anything spiritual related until like the past few years, and
And
I'm
what led you
35.
and everybody's journey is so different. You never know what that thing is that will kind of put you on that path. I'm curious what led you to Light is the New Black specifically. How did you land on
Oh,
that book?
okay. So, social media.
Hmm.
There was a girl that I was following for her health and fitness account on Instagram, and I would say probably 5 years ago, started reading a lot of personal development books and just things that really empower you and build you up and make you believe in yourself and all of those things. And she made a post that had, I don't know, 5 or 10 books stacked, just kind of sharing with her readers
Hmm.
what she was reading. And I was like, okay, I recognize some of them that I'd read, some of
Hmm.
them I was unfamiliar with, one of which was Light is the New Black. And someone had sent me a free Audible trial.
Oh, nice. Yes.
Um, and I listened to that book, and so I was like, okay, I'm more of a paperback person. I like holding the book, underlining it,
Yes.
all of the
Which
tabs and
mine will be
everything.
on paperback soon, so don't worry.
Yes, yes, I
82s of
cannot wait.
Awakening coming soon.
Yes, I cannot wait to read that. And so anyway, I read an audiobook, and I was like, okay, this makes it a lot easier to get through my, list of 100 books that I want to read, because I don't have time to do it, every night after work to read as much as I want. So I was scrolling through the platform, and Light as a New Black was on there. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to listen to it. And girl, within the first 5 minutes, it wasn't like she even said anything profound as far as spirituality or anything like that. She was just giving a little backstory
Hmm.
of her life.
Yes.
And I was just resonating with it. And within the first 5 minutes, I was like, this woman in this book it's going to change my life. And I don't know
Yes.
how or why, but I just felt it. And I finished that, I mean, at least within a few days, if not a week. I mean, and it just was a game changer. And then I read Rise Sister Rise, which was
Hmm.
a whole new level for me. I
Yeah.
actually struggled reading it because there were so many concepts that were so
Hmm.
foreign to me. But I was open minded to everything that I was reading. And it took me a few times, and I read it really slowly, trying to absorb the material. But, and then I booked her retreat, and the rest is history.
The rest is history. I would say when I first heard Light is the New Black, well, like you said, within the first few minutes, it was like she was telling my story, but it was her story. It's like she got
Mm-hmm.
inside my head and was saying things out loud that I had thought forever, but I didn't know anybody else thought like that. And so it seemed to me like the door was opened and it was saying,
Mm-hmm.
okay, now you get to walk through. You don't get to hide anymore. And I didn't know that I was consciously hiding, but I was always trying to fit in by being I mean, I'm an empath and I, pick up on people's thoughts and, like I have a lot of these strange qualities I thought that actually turned out to be along the spiritual lines. And
Mm-hmm.
the more I heard her talk about it, it made me feel so much safer to start doing this work as well. And I think that's a real gift that she has. There's so many people whose gifts who are there have been activated by hearing this work. So It's pretty
Yes.
incredible, I would say.
Right. And then it reminds us, that we're not alone and there's someone else out there that thinks this way or feels this way or has different experiences that we might be able to identify with, and allows you to embrace that and explore that, and just kind of expand upon that in your own way, however your journey, is evolving with it.
That's right. That's right. Oh, goodness. So, are there other spiritual teachers, authors, even motivational speakers that you really love and connect with as well?
I would say, as far as motivational, in female empowerment,
Mm-hmm.
love, love, love following Kara Alwaleba. She's the
Ooh,
author
look her
of
up.
Girl Code.
Okay.
And that was one of the first books that I read that really was about women supporting women and
Mm-hmm.
women encouraging women and women coming together to collaborate and learn from each other and not to compete.
Right.
And she's all about building other women up. And once I read that book, I was like, yes, like why do we not have more women doing this? And it's so needed because we're all so much better together.
That's right.
And so I love following her for all of that type of stuff. I recently have been really intrigued by Sahara Rose.
I don't know some
She's
of those.
very big, like with Ayurveda and
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
more holistic approaches. And she has a podcast, My Highest Self, I believe is what it's
Okay.
called. But she was
Great.
at a women's conference that I went to earlier, or I guess sometime last year. And she just started talking about a lot of new things that were kind of new to me with Ayurveda. And she just came out with some Oracle cards that I just got in the
Nice.
mail today. So it's interesting that you
Beautiful.
asked. Yes.
I'm gonna have
Mm-hmm.
to look her up. I'm a sucker for a good deck of oracle cards. I
Oh, these are,
definitely use like them
yeah,
a lot,
these are brand new and they're all about goddesses. So
which I
I think,
love.
I think you'll enjoy it.
Right up my alley. Have you read Megan Watterson's new book yet about
I
Mary
have,
Magdalene?
I've not, but I've seen a lot of Instagram posts about it. Have you?
I'm like halfway through the Audible book right now, and I just
Okay.
love hearing her speak because for the longest time, why I felt isolated from religion. I grew up Catholic, and there was much to be learned from it. So many great things came from it, but I
Mm-hmm.
also knew that that wasn't my spiritual home. I was always wondering where the women were. I knew of female leaders in my life. I felt I was a female leader. And all I heard was, women are trouble, women are bad, women don't have spiritual authority, men make all the decisions. God is definitely that old guy in the sky with the white beard,
Mm-hmm.
and it made me feel very uncomfortable. Like there wasn't a place for me. And
Mm-hmm.
hearing her say all these things that have been hidden, I mean, I've always felt a connection to Mary Magdalene. And I just feel for her, having been turned into this, oh, she's a prostitute storyline in order to take away her power when she really was, Jesus's closest friend. And I believe they were in a relationship, and I believe that she was the apostle to the apostles is how I've heard it
Mm-hmm.
described. And
Okay.
these works have been found over time, and I just find it so fascinating because female leadership representation matters. We need to see
Mm-hmm.
this. We need to know that it's real. And I'm so grateful to her because it's a really big deal when you can stand up to an institution, a religious institution, and say, here's a different version of the truth. People get
Right.
people get up in arms about that because this is the story and we're sticking to it. So I take so much value in seeing her bravery. And every time I get scared, I think
Mm-hmm.
about that because
Mm-hmm.
every time I show up with a new retreat or a new book or a new something, I hyperventilate. I get scared. I think,
Mm-hmm.
who am I to say these things? And it's am I in danger because of it? And when you think about it, it's honestly not that big of a deal. But we've seen evidence over history what happens when a woman will stand up in her truth and say something that's against the official story.
Right.
Um, so I take comfort in that in her.
That's great. And I love that you said, I mean, you're essentially practicing what I preach all the time, which is taking action despite fear. And you're choosing to be brave with what you're talking about in the events that you're doing. And it's all about practicing courage with everything that we're doing. That way we can fulfill our purpose and be who we were born to be. Because if we live in fear and are caught up in what others are thinking and how they might be judging us, or what they're going to say, or what they're going to think with anything that we do, whether it's, spiritual based or not, then we're living for other people and we're not living our lives. And life is too short to live that way. So
No, you're absolutely right. We need to be in alignment with who we are. We don't want to be a different person everywhere we go. When I'm with my family, I'm like this. When I'm with my friends, I'm like this. When I'm with my workplace, I'm like this. It's just so much work, and it takes away from your gifts that you were brought here to do. And if you keep censoring that because you're afraid of, well, this group of people will have something to say about it, you're never going to step into it. And I talk about it in the book. It's called the circle of light, is what I call it. It's that thing that's in your heart that you love to do, that makes you happy, that makes your heart sing, goes out into the world. It meets at that place where you are able to best serve the world. So what you love to do connects with how you were best able to serve, what you were created to do, essentially. And that comes back to you, because then you see the benefit of others that they get from you doing your best work. And it's something that you love. So it just keeps feeding itself, versus like, I'm going to show up to this job that I hate. And, I'm going to hide, like, in the spiritual closet, like Rebecca says, and put myself away for certain people, when really those may be the people who need your message more than anything. We've got to try to find that zone. That's the sweet spot.
And I mean, that's a great perspective, because there are some people who, enjoy the corporate world and enjoy
Of course.
their careers and things like that. But they can also choose to be the light and not suppress that and dim it for others, because they enjoy what they're doing for a reason, and they're in those environments for a reason. And it's people like that who can help others with their own spiritual journey, whatever that looks like for them, and to be positive and shift their perspectives on different things. And when people are aligned with who they are and show up as their more authentic self and practice bravery and things like that, it really gives other people the courage to do the same.
That's right.
And permission to go after what it is that they want to go after, or experience what they want to experience, or explore things, or come out of their own spiritual closet, or whatever. And the more that people come together and have these authentic type conversations, the more people will discover there are a lot of people that are like them, that have a lot of similar thoughts. I just had a female friend come out to me and release it to her community about her rebranding with her business. And she knew that she was going to lose a lot, or could lose a lot of business or friendships, but she felt like she was wearing a mask, and she was considered herself an intuitive business type coach, and wanted to rebrand that way, and knew that with religion and things like that, that could deter some people, but life's too short. And she realized, you know what, she wants to do that. And it takes a lot of courage to live your life for yourself and not for others. It's so inspiring. And when women do that, and men as well, but when people come together and they take those big leaps of faith in themselves, it shows other people that they can do the same thing, and that they can be supported. The people that are not supporting them are the people that don't need to be around them anyway. And when you rise and shine your light, then you will attract those that are meant to be in your life. And like Rebecca says, we're not meant for everyone, and everyone is not meant for us. And like flowers, I believe how she does the analogy, flowers don't open and bloom, or bloom and open or close based on who's around and what they're doing. They just bloom when they want to. And if we could all just be more like flowers and be ourselves, and not care what other people think, and just be, and let people appreciate us for who we are. And if they don't, then they can kindly remove themselves from our lives, because it's time to start living for ourselves and not for other people.
And it says more about them than it says about you. It just says they have limitations that they're working through. And you know what? Give them grace. Give them the space to
Right.
be who they are, but that shouldn't stop you. And that was very beautifully said. And the hardest part about all of that is that, like, I am a career long people pleaser. And when
Mm-hmm.
people don't like me, I just don't get it. Like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I'm so nice. But it has nothing to do with being so nice. It has everything to do with like energy and vibration, and the way I speak my
Right.
message may not resonate with somebody, but the way you say it may be exactly what they're looking
Right.
for. And so that's why everybody's voice is needed. And, people are missing out by you not using it if you don't.
Exactly. People need to share their voice. And, I saw a quote somewhere, and it said, kind of along the lines of, trying to overcome being a people pleaser and realizing that everyone's going to like you, even if you're an amazing person. And it said something like, not everyone likes Oprah. So let that put a perspective,
Yeah.
put it into perspective. And I was like, you know what? That's right. Like, Oprah's amazing, but there are some people that don't like Oprah. So,
Which I adore her. To me, she's the
yes.
ultimate light worker, bringing other light workers into focus,
Amen,
putting
sister.
putting them on stage and saying, "Listen to this." So
Mm-hmm.
she's done the world a huge, huge service, and I'm just
Yes,
so grateful to her being brave enough to follow her path. She was too emotional for the news, so good. You're not meant for the regular news. You're meant for something else.
exactly.
Well, what are you meant for coming up soon? What kinds of things are you working on? How can people get a hold of you?
Well, I am actually working on getting into more schools to speak to young girls.
Wonderful.
That is a big goal that I have. I love talking to women and will continue to do that, but I realize there's a big need to bring self-love and self-acceptance and all of those things to young girls in schools, especially with all of the bullying that is going on. And fortunately, I was not in school when social media was around, so it's a
Right.
lot more
Oh gosh.
challenging for the young girls. Um, so that's what I'm working on as far as expanding my self-love challenge business. But I have a few local events coming up, and hopefully we'll be planning another women's retreat soon.
That's
And
fantastic.
yeah, people can find me on Instagram. I'm at the Self-Love Challenge. My website is
Hmm.
www.selflovechallenge.com, and my email is theselflovechallenge@gmail.com.
It's fantastic. And I'll put all the links in the show notes as well so they can check you out, because what you're doing is fantastic, my friend. I'm so proud to know you, and I'm just really having fun watching your journey. So thank you for being brave and shining your light.
Thank you so much.
You got it. Thanks for being on the show.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Lighthouse Conversations. If this show resonates with you, it would mean so much to have you rate, review, and share. Don't forget to follow us at chellycanales.com and on social media.